That is right. Rinse, wash, and flush. That's what the Pontificators is all about. This show is dedicated to all the people who like to think outside the box, to think what is and what could be and what are the ifs to the universe, to everything that is. There's no subject here that doesn't go. There's we can talk about anything at any length and not have an argument. That's what this show is about. There are many things to pontificate. We have Brian here. I'm surprised you put your name there because I thought you were going to be the professor, but we have the professor here who he's a teacher. He has a wealth of knowledge of subjects in which we can talk about. I am the great pontificator. We can pontificate about any one of these subjects. We can find the truth in them if there is no truth, and we can find the opposite if there is a supposed truth, right? So that's what I love about this show. I want everyone to have an open mind and just think, what could be? Is it possible that we're living in a simulation?
What happened, Dan?
You just totally lost me, huh?
Yeah, what happened?
That's what's happening here. The internet's trying to shut me off
Already.
I just got started. I'm getting shut off already. Let's just change your name here, man. You are not. You're the professor, dude. Come on. Let's get started off right.
I'll do my best to profess.
You are the professor. There you go. So tonight's first show is really, I want to talk about what in the hell is going on with all the UFO activity in this country. We're going to pontificate things on this show. Let's pontificate this from the beginning, the first episode, because I have had many experiences with my own UFO encounters. I've seen at least 5, and I want to know what the rest of you think. I want to know what you think, Professor. Have you seen any UFOs? Anything that comes to mind in the skies that have been out of the ordinary, besides what we'll get into later after, our recent experience?
Since I moved to Georgia, because there isn't very much light pollution, you can see into the deep, dark sky. I mean, I have seen some strange glowing lights before. I've been, on the ball field late at night, and you look up and there's like a stream, or you see some glowing light. You see a strange movement, out, in the night sky. But again, it's hard to sit back and, fully say that this is a UFO. I mean, it's a strange anomaly. I'm sure that I have. I mean, I didn't document, and I can kind of remember looking up and being perplexed by what I'm envisioning. Maybe like some sort of strange like glob in the sky, strange movement. Sometimes
what you're saying is blah blah blah. You haven't really seen anything in the sky,
right? I mean, just to say that, that's what it is.
So, up until our experience, would you say that you were a believer that there was UFO activity, aliens out there?
I mean, I've always believed that there's something out there. I mean, it's, it goes to the old adage, how can we be the only ones, in this universe? I mean, heck, even maybe in this galaxy. I do believe that, UFOs do exist. I think there's been a lot of circumstantial evidence out there by various sources to say, yeah, I believe, like the most recent, Bob Lazar, when he was on Joe Rogan, and the way he expressed everything, and then his documentary, kind of says, well, I mean, this sounds, as close to the truth as possible. Listed in other sources, Lex Friedman, he's big in aliens. He believes that they're here. I've seen like Ancient Aliens, various shows. I've read, stories. So I believe that they are there, they are out there. Now the question is, how close are they? Are they coming here for short periods and they leaving? I don't know. Are they living among us? Some people think they live among us, which could possibly be true, especially since our technology has advanced in such a short period of time. There might be something out there that's sharing, ideas, and so there's a lot, to think about, a lot to discuss, and
Well, there's a lot of people that believe in all the ancient alien stuff. There's a lot of people that think that they are complete quacks. And then there's people that truly believe in what they're trying to, show the world, that not necessarily everything that you think has been the truth is the truth. And that's kind of what this show is about, pontificating. Is everything that we know to be what it is? Let's just say they were off on carbon dating by a decimal point.
Right.
How badly would that screw up the entire, history of carbon dating things to tell what the age of things were? We're only human, right?
Right.
What is our level of how much can we truly understand and truly be correct about? And where does our humanity come involved to decipher our mistakes? And where can we build off of that if we truly are incapable of making a mistake? It would truly take an AI to figure out all of this stuff. It would take many AIs working together to actually come up with the true numbers of what carbon dating would be, to actually prove us as humanity to be false, right? Or be correct. So there's so many things to pontificate, Professor. We can get into that later, because that's a whole nother show, carbon dating. But
yeah, I agree, especially trying to find an exact timeline of humanity, our position here on this planet, compared to possibly
so many things. They're finding so many things that are proving the dating of humanity to be incorrect. They once thought, the pyramids were 5,000 years old. Now they're thinking they're 10,000.
Right.
Eventually they could come up with their 20,000, they're 100,000,
Right.
Certain things that have come out about the pyramids that are actually interesting, though. They found that the blocks have shells in them from the ocean. So they're able to take those shells and carbon date them, assuming that's all correct, to a certain period of when they were, when they were made. And it doesn't all quite line up. So that's what the pontificating is about here.
Right.
So humanity could have gone back so far that we actually had a good working relationship, or maybe not, with a different race from a different solar system or our own, in a binary one that's come back and forth every so many thousand years. So we're at this point now where everybody is seeing UFOs. Everyone has the ability to take a video on their phone now.
Right.
What does that mean with the amount of content coming out for the UFO community? Does it mean that A, we're witnessing the government finally unleashing things that they've been working on, and B, where did they get that technology from in the first place? And then to the other point of that was 1A and 1B, or 1A and 1B. So now the second point to that would be, is it actually alien activity? Is it interdimensional activity? Is it us from the future or the past?
It's interesting because then you got the next step of the multiverse.
Right.
Is it us coming?
True.
Yeah. Is it us coming back, or a piece of us in some multiverse coming back? So maybe it's not aliens; it's actually us, just in a different universe. Right. The thing is, it's hard to confirm. I mean, the only thing we can do is with our own eyes, and then trust the source that's providing it.
And we can't rely on our own governments to tell us the truth, because
no,
If
And
this has
the
been
thing
going
about
on
that,
for years,
and it's their timing when they put stuff out. It's like, okay, there's something going on that they want to hide. Let's throw an alien, spaceship that we speculate is, been caught on tape by some fighter pilot. Let's put that out real quick. Well, that distracts us. So it is hard for
and by
when
the
the
way,
government.
that was distracting us from at the current time during current events that the when they were blowing up the unidentified aircraft like 3 or 4 in a row. At that time, it was like
Right.
February 4th or something. Right before that was when that train derailment happened in Ohio,
That's
and
right.
nobody talked. They were talking about that until they were like, "Oh, look at the UFOs we shot down." So
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting. Here's another point to that: the movie that they made called like White Noise or something that was
Yeah.
made a year before in the same town of Palestine in Ohio, and the movie was about a train derailment that had caused a massive um, chemical, you know, problem.
Spill.
They
Yeah.
had a chemical spill. They had to evacuate the entire community. And 1 year later, the same thing happens in the exact same town in real life.
Right.
Thing, just pontificating, but that's awfully weird, isn't it?
The coincidence, yeah, it is very weird.
Sometimes coincidences are not coincidence.
Exactly. You know, I did listen. I talked to a guy who did work for the company, and he was telling me they there was a lot of mistakes being made. A lot of cost cutting for that company. So the irony is, it happens at the place, the town where they made a movie about that accident.
And
Um,
Professor, they don't film movies. I know this for a fact. They don't film movies in places like Ohio, Illinois. It
right.
takes something special to get because when they're making a movie, they're looking for a tax break. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing they're looking for. If they can't get it and they really want to have the scenery to be real for
Yeah.
the actual area, they will forego the tax break to go make the movie wherever, whether it's in Colorado or Wyoming or
Right.
Ohio or Chicago or New York. New York has tax breaks, but you know, West Virginia, any place that doesn't, if it's very specific to the point they're trying to make in the movie, they will forego the tax break just to make that happen. So that's very strange in itself. Getting on to the UFO thing, just to continue this, because we can pontificate all sorts of things. This is the whole point of
Right.
the show. Tonight is how many UFOs have you seen? And I'm going to be honest, myself, I can count 5 because I saw 3 in 2 nights. The first one came on a Friday night at like 9:45. The second one came on Saturday night at like 10, or it was literally 10 minutes later from the night before, so it was like 10:05, and then it came like 10 minutes later again the second night, twice in a row, another 10 minutes later. So Friday night was like 9:45, Saturday night was about 10:05, and then it came back a second time at about 10:15. And we were camping along this river, and we saw it. It looked like a glowing orange orb about the size of a dime as far as you could hold it up in the sky. And it was glowing like an ember from the fire. It was glowing orange, and it was a perfect circle, just about. And it was
Right.
moving. It was moving about the speed of a helicopter or less, and no higher than a helicopter would fly. And it came across the skyline, and I started recording it. I have the videos of it. I'll show it to you. And then it passed over the tree line into the darkness, and it disappeared into the dark. So I stopped the recording. As soon as I stopped the recording, my wife and I both saw a flash in reality and all around us about the fraction of a second of an old flash bulb. It was probably a tenth of a second. And we were both like, "Did you see that?" And right after I pressed stop, My screen went blank on my phone, but then an image appeared after, which appeared to look like, as I zoomed into it, a burning wormhole. That's the best I can describe it. I will show it to you. The next night, it came back 10 minutes later from that point. It was a little bit lower. I was able to record most of it. It went all the way above us, kept going over, disappeared in the tree line. Nothing else happened when I stopped the video. It came back 10 minutes later, but now it was lower in the sky. It was closer to us. It was larger. You could see it even better. And it got straight above me. And then it was a crystal clear night. We were looking at the stars. We had a fire going. We were camping on a river, and it forms a cloud above us. And then as it starts to ascend right above me into the cloud that it had created. And then all you could see was this orange dot in the center with an orange halo around it. And it started to ascend and go higher and higher, and the halo got smaller and smaller, but you could still see the dot in the center, smaller and smaller, and then it just disappeared, but the cloud was left. And then moments later, the cloud dissipated and it was gone. And the fact that we saw this 3 times in 2 nights, there is nothing I can explain other than this was real, and it was definitely not of this earth that we know of. And it was almost like a scout that was trying to survey the map, the globe, because it was almost a little bit further away the first night, and then it came a little bit closer, and it was both closer and to us and from the sky down to us. So it was almost like it was making a grid pattern. It was weird. And I even I contacted the head grounds of the campground. They didn't see it. I talked to people at the campground. They didn't see it. But I have it on video. I can show it to you guys. Unfortunately, I lost everything that I had loaded when I lost my video feed in the beginning, but it'll just take me a second. So here's the first night. It's a little bit hard to see. You can hear the river. That's the sound of the river. You can barely make it out because it's higher in the sky, and you can kind of see that glowing dot. And then it kind of it's going to the right, and it dissipates, and it's over. And then the second time that it came back, which was the second night, 10 minutes later from that point, it was just a little bit more easy to see. You see that? I wish I could zoom into this, but I can't. But you'll see on the next image that it gets bigger the third time that it came back the next night. And I feel like it was like almost watching us. Look at how much you can see it glowing there. That's a reflection on the river. You can hear me. Look.
Is that a fucking meteorite?
It was like it was so weird. Right about now, it starts to form the cloud. And then you can see it starts to go up into it, but you can't see the halo of it on this video. And then it goes up and up.
Oh my god, it just fucking went up and disappeared.
And it's gone. So I have additional images of let's see, I meant to turn those into, I have to make those a PDF, darn it. But I can make additional images right now as you're speaking, just to show you like the actual image of it as a, actually no, I have a different video. Let's see. I actually made a short out of this. Because I wanted to I put the short on this channel for people to see, and this kind of gives it a little bit more perspective because I made it so you can actually see what it looks like So here's like you can see the zoomed in version here. So that's what it looked like. So, I mean, yeah, can you explain that to me, please, Professor?
No, I don't. What river or where were you camping?
We
Was
were
there
in northern.
anything?
We were in northern. Well, I can get to the. I'm going to kind of explain that in a second.
Okay.
But we were on a river in northern Georgia, which
Okay.
is very close to North Carolina, which is where um, a man named Stephen Greer lives. And if you don't know who he is he was actually a scientist that worked for the government and had nothing to do with aliens, but years ago he became a very famous ufologist. And it turns out that he decided that he was going to start to meditate to draw UFOs into his position. Basically, he was going to meditate his uh, GPS coordinates, if you will, out to outer space and attract UFOs to him. And he started to see UFOs coming to him. So what he eventually did, because he didn't want to seem like he was totally crazy, was he created a group called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. Actually, it's a documentary that he made where he brings out people and they camp for like 3 nights wherever. In fact, right after we saw this, we found that he was camping here in Georgia for 3 nights, but we have dogs and you couldn't bring your animals. And I was very encouraged to go. But you can camp with them, and there's like 30 people all sitting in a circle, all meditating the same, basically GPS coordinates of where they all are on the planet. And it draws in all different species of UFOs. In fact, they're playing with each other, they're having fun. I I highly encourage you to check out this video, this documentary, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind by Dr. Stephen Greer, because it turns out that he ends up living about 30 miles as a crow flies from where we were east. And we were watching these these UFOs going east over our heads, which would have been going like another 30 miles towards his GPS coordinates. And that's what blew my mind ultimately after watching this documentary, because I know what I saw, and what I saw was definitely this. And if you look, there is a the if you guys remember the Tic Tac video with the fighter pilot who came out on the Joe Rogan show, and he told his whole event about the Tic Tac event that he had. And he's a very, very well respected fighter pilot. He's like the top fighter. He's like the maverick of the Air Force. And he was talking about how he felt silly after seeing that. And Joe asked him if he told anybody, and he said, "Well, yeah, I came back and told a couple of guys." And then immediately he became part of this club of other pilots who have seen this kind of stuff. And so they eventually started warning pilots of these glowing like these orbs that were just hanging out in the sky, 30,000 feet up, 20,000, 15,000 feet up, and they would hang out there for hours. And one fighter pilot that the one who was on Rogan was talking to, he was saying, "Yeah, I almost hit one of these things." And so they started warning the fighter pilots who were going out over the Pacific for just routine drills to look out for these orbs that were hanging out in the sky for them to run into. And so this is documented, and it kind of goes to what I'm seeing here, what I've seen 3 times in 2 nights, which is what you're looking at here on the screen. In fact, as this video moves on, I zoom in a little bit more. There you go. What they were talking about was in these orbs, you can actually see a cube in the center.
Mhm.
And this is the military talking to the fighter pilots. So now you're seeing here. Do you see the cube in the center there, Professor?
I do. Yeah, I see it.
It's right here.
It's a fainter color.
There's a
It's a
cube
little
right.
lighter shade.
Yeah, it's definitely a cube right in the center. So I don't. I feel like I'm gonna get like probed tonight in my sleep.
Yeah.
But in a way, I feel like I almost already have been by aliens. So, I mean, this is the kind of thing that when I put two and two together and I'm watching certain things, right? And they're talking about this, and then I see it with my own eyes. This is on my phone. I took this video. It is not fake. I can promise you 1,000,000,000,000,000% this is not fake.
Right.
And I just want to know what you, Professor, and the rest of the globe that are watching this, and if you are, thank you for watching this, because this is episode 1 of many more to come of great subjects, pontificating stuff just like this. And this is something that really happened to me personally, which is what makes this first episode of it even that much more special, because I wanted to tell people about this. And I just thought if I posted this online, nobody would see it. Perhaps if we have a discussion about this, I can show it to you as I saw it, that you would, it might actually change your thoughts to actually realize that this is actually something going on in the in our reality right now. In fact, if you look, you can see the cube extend. Even look, the cube goes out to here. Do you see my cursor?
Mm-hmm.
Look at the cube right here, Professor. So I would
Yeah, I
like
can
to
see
know.
it.
Here's another cube right here. It's like there's multiple cubes emulating until it makes a perfect sphere almost. Only it's not perfect. Professor, I would like you to pontificate on this.
Well, the cube part is probably the craft itself, and then the sphere it's using some sort of energy source. I'm not quite sure what. I know hydrogen and helium is huge in the universe. They're building blocks for life, at least. So they may be using some sort of element.
Are they
They
using element 115 or whatever it is that
Yeah, and I was listening. It's like the Earth has made like 100 of them for all sense and purposes, and then man's made like I think 14 or 15 elements.
And by
And
the
the
way,
other
if
thing,
you're listening
go
to
ahead.
this on Spotify or any kind of audio podcast, I encourage you to come over to the Pontificators podcast on YouTube just to see the video of this, because it is real. I can promise you that, and you can make up your own judgment. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you,
Oh no,
Professor.
you're fine. So obviously, some sort of advanced technology with possible, an element that either is earthly, or it could be something that they made up. Um, the Q part, I'm curious to know. Squaring off is a very it's a common geometric shape. I'm trying to figure what kind of advantage it has when it comes to aerodynamics, unless there's some sort of weight distribution with the cube, which possibly is because everything might be equal on every side, would play a big part, I guess. I'm not very good at math. Then what interests me is the water source. Now, you talked about being by a river, seeing this, and then the fighter pilots talked about being over the Pacific Ocean. So water seems to be an important geographic region that they kind of hang out at. So, which means, I mean, they may have some sort of human components that water obviously is a life source. So that fascinates me. It could also be that guy was meditating at that time and he used some sort of energy to attract this particular source, these orbs. Man, there's a lot going on. There's people out there that are a lot more highly qualified to analyze it. Especially those that are engineers and those that understand aerodynamics. And also, I guess the last thing would be with the orb, the color. It's like some sort of heat source using thermodynamics, I would guess. So,
why would it be? I guess my question would be, why would it be emanating this? If they're trying to remain unseen, right? What is the purpose of them to be emanating this kind of light from? So if they were able to, like, for example, the orb that they found, the one that just came out that the government recently
released to the public,
yeah,
declassified, I guess.
Yeah, it was basically a silver sphere that was just hanging out over a conflict zone. And I'm just wondering, like, is this the same kind of thing? And if it is, what's the purpose of it emanating this aura around it in the darkness for us to see? Why wouldn't it just remain unseen? It's very strange to me.
What if, just hypothetically saying, they're fearing, like how fighter pilots are fearing that they're going to run into these orbs, that they're going to run in, especially with the amount of air traffic. You talked about 500 feet a helicopter. Well, that's not very high, and helicopters are fairly common. So it may be fearful that, like say, a single engine Cessna in the air doesn't fly very high. So it's, it possibly, it's already experienced, contact in some form or fashion with some sort of human entity.
So it knows
the light could be either for them to see or for us to see. So
right,
we don't run into
they've been crashed on this planet before, right?
Well, yeah. I mean,
they not seen.
They have, they have a history. They probably have been here for a very long time. They've, they understand, it's kind of like, let's say you and I decide to go to the Amazon rainforest. I mean, we're going to be on high alert of many different creatures we probably never heard of, never seen, or we have heard of. And, we're not going to try to disrupt. So we are going to have lights. We're going to present ourselves, so that whatever is in front of us either doesn't attack us or we don't come across it and scare it, and then it, or we could, have, commit harm or something. But that might be kind of what's happening with the light. They're not worried about being incognito per se. They're worried about safety,
or are they trying to make us aware that they're here?
Yeah, and that could be it too. Just drop subtle hints that we are around you. I've heard stories that, because the ocean is the most unexplored place on this planet. We've explored more space than we have our own oceans. Maybe that's where they're residing. They're residing in water. So there's a myriad of things that are possibly going on.
What do you think could be causing this thing to glow like this? I mean, if the Stephen Lazar, who he was
Bob
talking
Lazar?
about, or Bob Lazar was talking about the reverse engineering having to do with mercury and I think magnets or something. What would make this glow like this?
It's possible, like I said, some sort of thermodynamics, some sort of heat. Because heat produces energy, and then it's combustible. So just like your engine in your car, it's just like the early steam engine factories using heat. That's what that could be. It's emanating some sort of heat source. So it maybe it's gonna show off.
It was just so weird, man, because it made no sound whatsoever. It was completely silent. It was like this peaceful piece of, ember from the fire just floating above us for 3 minutes across the sky. It was, or whatever. It was amazing.
It's an unexplained, flying object. We can't.
There is there are so many examples of people seeing this kind of stuff. Like, for example, one of the shows I subscribe to, Secure Team 10. I highly suggest you subscribe to them if you do not know who Tyler is. I'm a big fan of his. I've been a fan of his since almost day one. He doesn't know, hopefully yet, but I want to show just this is some of the things courtesy of him that some of the things that has come onto his channel of people that have seen that these are things that have been captured during the daytime that are kind of similar to if you're looking at this and then you compare it to this, does that translate into that just not glowing during the day? Oops. Let's go to here. I mean, could that possibly be the same thing as this? But here's the other strange
But
thing
I
about
see a circle, but I see more of a circle, not a cube.
well, this gets more interesting per Secure Team 10. Where is it at? I lost everything when I got kicked off in the beginning, so let me just pull this up again. Per Secure Team 10, like there is, let's see, which one was that one? Was that this one? Here we go. Like, this is the same video he like condensed into the previous image I showed you. So look at this. If you actually like look at that, look at how symmetrical that
Yeah.
is. Could it be this? Making a bunch of like could the squares that we're seeing in this ultimately add up to the same thing that this is, only this is during the day? I mean, look that's very symmetrical in a very scary way, isn't it? It almost looks
Yeah.
biologically made.
What I notice about it is it's like the opposite. When you split it in half, the backside is the opposite of the front side. The front side is the opposite of the backside, but it's perfectly opposite.
Right. You can split it in half both ways.
Right.
And
that's fascinating.
Like, that's what that looks like in daylight. And this is like
that looks.
I actually took this image and made it so that it was you could just see all the differences between light and dark and contrast. And that's just, I mean, what in the fuck is that? That's all I have to ask you, man. What is that? And is it possible that that's what this is? Because that could very well be this. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I'm just curious if that's possibly a separate object. Because if one group has traveled to Earth, I wonder if there's other groups with separate types of technology or just at least aesthetics.
You want to get into that? We can do more of that. Let's do that. So here's more stuff. Just stuff that people from Secure Team has sent into Secure Team 10, which I'm a big fan of. All the credit to him. I'm trying not to make these videos any longer than will get me copyright issued for, but I'm going to give them all credit. I'll put all the links to all the videos in the description here so you can go check them out yourself on Secure Team 10. I love Tyler over there and what he's doing. I mean, look at this. This is just somebody's doorbell camera, okay?
Yeah.
This is somebody's doorbell camera, guys. And this dude, Tyler, he breaks this stuff down. He goes through and he tries to make sure that this is legit before he puts it on his channel. He's got thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of subscribers and viewers and views and blah, blah, blah. So when you see this on somebody's doorbell cam and he's broken this down, I mean, I don't know what that is. I mean, seriously, people. So here's more. I have I have a couple more on that. Uh, here it is, like continuing on, and it eventually starts to go through the trees, and you see it go through the trees, which I'll show you here in another second. I have to make these in small clips, and it goes further past, and then you'll see it eventually go into the trees here.
Yeah.
So it's been confirmed that what you're seeing here traveling through the trees actually passes through the trees. And therefore, my question to you is, what in the hell is that?
It looks like something that's not earthly.
So when I see this, and I see this with my own eyes, I have to wonder, Professor, what is going on? Are we living in a simulation? Is this our government? Is this other governments? Are we at, some people think we're at a war. Look, if you go back and you really do research on history, it goes back to the book of Enoch, where they talk about Nephilim, a giant race. They basically talk about what could be conceived as an alien race that has been here before. In fact, the entire Bible, if you wanted to, you could make a case for the Bible was written based upon encounters with aliens, such as ancient aliens might suggest, other things like that. But you could make a case for it. So is it possible, we're pontificating here, that we've actually been here for a lot longer than we can possibly conceive? Our dating of things is incorrect, and we have possibly been not only watched by, as the Bible would suggest, the watchers, but created by a different species, whether it was intentionally or not, whether it was a meteorite that came here. I saw a very interesting show, a documentary about um, meteorites that have landed on this planet, and they've documented them. And the person that I was watching in the documentary went, and they were talking to this person who had this specific meteorite, and it absolutely reeked like rotting flesh, like rotting biology. And so they ended up finding out that that specific meteorite was full of amino acids, which are what, Professor?
Building blocks for life.
Thank you. So that kind of brings to the forefront here what I've been talking about. Can it be that we have actually literally been unintentionally populated by a different planet through its explosion, expulsion, or however you want to, whatever the word is for it? They sent it here deliberately to create the building blocks of life. And what happens if our race continues on from here and we get to a point where we can do the same, where our planet is in turmoil and we have the ability to put our amino acids into a building block and send our shit off to Mars, because that's going to be the next planet that we're trying to inhabit, right? Because it'll be closer to the sun eventually.
Right.
Just pontificating.
Well, I think that idea has been around for quite a long time of a interstellar object has come here to basically spread, like DNA, the amino acids, the building blocks. It's used, the universal like elements to help us become and evolve. as a species. It could also be all just accidental. It could be, I'm listening to a guy. He builds telescopes, and he's talking about how far back they can look. He can basically carbon date the universe to precision, 13.8 billion years old, and basically talking about microwaves and talking about light and talking about basically these, principles that help, explain our universe. So the point is that, you have stars that explode, you have black holes, you have, wormholes, you have all these things going on in space that something could have been sent here. And it could have even started with the process of the Earth. Because, there was this massive collision, basically gravity and then basically space objects colliding to create Earth. Maybe something within that. I don't know, because we're pontificating, and the truth of the matter is these scientists don't know 100%. They get closer and closer, but
could it be octopi that you're talking about there, Professor?
It could. It could be.
Octopi have roughly. They have 33,000 genes, roughly 10,000 more than a human. This alone sets it apart from any other invertebrate in the entire world. They are also uncannily clever, with the ability to open jars, solve puzzles, even use tools. They can slip through a hole the size of a penny. These things can change their entire appearance to make them look like a rock or a fish or a piece of coral. So what is to stop that from being the species that takes over this planet one day? They can be crawling on land and breathing air and just taking us all over, just taking over our buildings, crawling up buildings.
I think not so much the octopus, but something that evolves out of the octopus,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Would possibly be the next one. Humanity, though, too, is still relatively young. If you want to just go along with the evolution, and basically follow the timeline, and use the primate as our common ancestor.
But look at
we're only
look at the
2
difference.
million years old at the most.
The difference between the evolution of species on this planet compared to humans.
Oh,
in our own lifetime, we've seen it evolve twice over in some cases. So what does that mean for our species if we're not evolving fast enough?
But I think we are actually. It's accelerated. For example, I was watching one of those. Jen was watching one of those fixer-upper shows, and those old houses like 1798, 1800s. Well, they build their roofs at 7 feet high because everybody's so short. Well, you're talking less than 200 years later, basically. We got people that are 7'5". We got the average height is 5'9", 5'10". So basically, just in that short period of time, our body structure has changed dramatically. For sure. In fact, like during Abraham Lincoln's time in the 1860s, he was gargantuan at 6'3". Now that's a point guard in the NBA. Right. So we have evolved.
If there's a species like the octopus in the oceans that are evolving at a faster rate than we are, though, isn't that kind of scary?
But then
not to say that they are. I don't know that as proof, but if they have 33,000 more genes than we do, they have 33,000 genes, roughly 10,000 times more than we do. So if that's the case, wouldn't that mean those that genes are faster than we do?
Yeah, because those genes are working. They're becoming more advanced, I guess you could say.
That doesn't bode well for us. It could be one again. We were planted here and made, or we're being taken out, right? And it's not going to happen quick. I'll tell you that much. There's not a Indians involved.
What I find fascinating, especially if you want to compare the species, is looking at just the idea of consciousness. So, when you look at supposedly these aliens, what kind of consciousness do they have? So, our consciousness, is built around this idea of perception. We're perceiving things, and we all perceive things differently. like you and I having this conversation, we're perceiving that there are space aliens,
Life,
living
life
among us.
itself is all about your
Yeah.
own perception, isn't it?
Right, right. And then you see these aliens, do they have perception? Do they have a consciousness? How do they see, their world compared to our world? That would be something that I would love to listen to, researchers kind of like tap into and figure out in some sort of comparison and contrast. Like emotion. I mean, just simple emotion. Like, human beings, we have fear, but we're also very benevolent. We can be malevolent and, want to destroy, or we can be benevolent and we want to help. What is their take? I mean, maybe they're so far advanced, they're extremely benevolent, and they want to help us. Maybe they feel sorry for us because they've looked at our history and gone, these people have lost their minds.
So that being the case, if an octopus can open jars and solve puzzles and even use tools, doesn't that make that thought terrifying? Even more terrifying?
Yeah, it does if they want to use it for, like I said, for malevolent reasons. For if they're out to just use tyranny and conquer, it's terrifying. If they're willing to cooperate and assist, well, then maybe not so much terrifying. I think that the hard part for us is that it's the unknown. Like, we fear the unknown. It's a common theme amongst humanity. That's the number one anxiety, is just the unknown. And
what's the thing that's like, if you can put all the things together on this planet, like what is the common theme to all of us? If you see a deer in the woods, it's scared of you, right? If you see a snake in the woods, it's ultimately terrified of you, and it's only going to attack you because it's scared of you. Even there's not really much that goes out hunting for humans, right? Like,
right.
If you're like stuck in the ocean, a shark might, because it's only looking for food.
But it's for food. It's not out to. For
the most part, every other animal on this planet is they have trepidations, and they're self-reserved, and they're ultimately afraid of us, and they would like to avoid us as much as possible, right? So it's with aliens, right? But here's the thing: if you put an octopus the size of King Kong on the Empire State Building, is that thing going to be terrified of us because it knows it's already developed to the point where it knows it can kill us? And that being the case, if it's not alien, let's say, do the aliens have that capability of thought, or are they past that? Are they already past? We've already been programmed for thousands of years to build and make better and not destroy. And that's kind of where maybe the trepidation might come from, in not only a frog or a potential King Kong size octopus, but I think it's the one thing that we're lacking in humanity is we don't have that. We're out to destroy everybody, right?
What's interesting though is that when you look at a species, basically they have three goals in life. One is to basically spread their genes as much as possible. The second thing is, if they can't spread their genes, they're going to help the next in line, their kin, basically their brother, their cousin, whoever, to pass the gene on. And the third is altruistic reciprocity. Basically, I'm going to do for you because you can help me. So I'm going to help you pass your genes on by ensuring your self-preservation, and you're going to do the same for me because we can help each other. And that's humanity. That's species. That's what they do for the most part.
Yeah.
And I think within the altruistic reciprocity, that's kind of, in a sense, where the consciousness comes into play, because we have to problem solve. We have to work together. We have to put our differences aside.
So wait, explain altruistic reciprocity again.
Basically, all that means is that I'm going to do for you. I'm going to help you out because you're going to help me out.
It's like a parasite taking over. there's like a worm that takes over insects and makes them jump into the water to kill themselves so it can release itself into the water and become something else, right?
Well, that would be more
That
for
altruistic system.
self-preservation. I think it's more like when you see, like, say, primates grooming each other. You know, they're picking each other's back. They're picking the bugs off each other's backs.
Yeah.
That's kind of the idea, that, you know, we're going to help each other because now, so going now, this idea of aliens. So maybe their DNA, from, you know, interstellar places, has been sent, and it. So is that concept ingrained? So when they come here, are they looking at possibly helping us because they think that we can help them?
Or because we are them in the past,
or we are them, we are part of them. Yeah, there's some sort of link, genetic
maybe that
link.
society has been destroyed by war and by inner fighting, and
Yeah,
they've evolved from that. So maybe they're here as like watchmen, which is even in the Bible. Strangely
right.
enough, I'm not religious. We'll get into that in much later shows, but that they could be here to help us, and maybe they're just here to observe. They're tracking us. Maybe it's because they are here because of, you know, Nibiru and a binary solar system, and it's true that there's a planet that's harboring other species that are now closer to us every so many thousand years.
Yeah.
I mean, who the hell knows? But I
That
like
and
what
that's
you're
the
saying
thing.
there.
It's almost like if you wanted to take over, you could do it without any kind of problem.
Yeah, so you would think that if they've been doing this for thousands of years, they would have done that by now. They would
It's kind of like, you know,
could
you
be
watch
back
the
now.
alien movies.
Yeah.
They show up and they take over, and it's like, well, it seems like they've been here for quite a long time.
Or is it that we're just in an alternate universe, or I should say an a no, it's all a simulation that we're living in, and there's just some kid playing a video game on the other side of us. Is that what it's?
I don't. I have a hard time with the simulation. That one's just too hard for me to wrap my head around.
That's a tough one for me too. But sometimes you're like, that was weird. I have to pontificate that for a second.
That would be an interesting pontification.
I should say that right after this, because we have to wrap this up here in a moment, but right after this experience that we had with this alien encounter, this UFO encounter, 3 nights in a row, or 3 times in 2 nights, I should say. That was in April, and we drove back home to Illinois, and we were driving around in upper Illinois in the farmlands. It was around July. So from April, the first encounter, not the first encounter I've ever had, but these 3 encounters in 2 nights was in April. July, in Illinois, my wife and I both see again this chrome. The best way that I could describe it was just a very, very shiny tube in the sky. And my wife said to me, you know, jokingly, she's like, for all we know, I mean, that could be a UFO. And we were like, ha, 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 ha. And then, because it was a long, just country road we were driving on, no mountains, nothing, all wide
Flat
open.
land,
It was the sky was kind of wispy clouds, but otherwise blue cloud, blue sky, just a couple of wispy clouds over there to the left. And she goes, that could easily be a UFO. And we both like, ha, ha, ha. And then, wait a second. So she's like, wait, let me pull up my phone. And as she goes to pull out her phone, she can't. It's like one of those moments where you just can't. It's like the dream you have where you can't dial the phone number to your damn save your life. You're like, 18, 15, fucking shit. She, oh my God, damn it. She couldn't get her phone. And she finally gets it ready. And then this object just goes right behind a very wispy cloud. And we were like, okay, it's going to come out any second now. And it never came out of the other side of the very wispy cloud. And so then we sat there thinking, yeah, that's our own. We're just we're just making this up on our own heads because of what we just saw in April, and everything's a UFO now, right? But then, like a minute later, an actual airplane came along, and it was clearly 1,000% definably different. When an
Yeah.
airplane is flying, it doesn't just look like this in the sky. You can actually see the wings. So as it's going along, you're seeing it on an angle where you can see both sets of wings. Not only that, but it is very gray in the sky. It's not blindingly chrome, just flashing back at you where you can't see it almost. It was like a chrome cylinder, a chrome tube just going across the sky into a wispy cloud, disappeared. 2 minutes later, a real plane comes along the same path, goes into that same wispy cloud, comes out the same side.
Wow.
And we both just sat there like, what in the hell is going on? And I think that is an excellent way to wrap this show. We have had other experiences as well, and we can definitely talk to you about those experiences on another UFO show. In fact, I have some friends I reached out to. I was telling about this, and they had their own UFO experiences too, but they couldn't make it tonight. So we'll have to make another show about all of our UFO experiences, because the goal of this show is, if you really would like to be a part of this, you can by emailing the Pontificators at gmail.com. You can come on this show and pontificate with us on a variety of subjects, and we'll let you know which one it is. If you want to join us, please do. We would love to have you part of this show, because that's what we're trying to build here. And Professor, do you have any last parting words before we say goodnight to our audience?
No, I thought we had a really good conversation. It's one of those you don't know where it's going to lead to, but I thought we had some pretty good ideas. And I'll be honest, after this conversation, I feel closer to the truth that they probably do live amongst us, and a lot of the things that.
Wait, there's one subject we forgot actually, which was you and I. Remember, after we watched Dr. Stephen Greer, I told you about Dr. Stephen Greer meditation, right? We were meditating out in Georgia, out in very deep South Georgia, where there was no, you could see the Milky Way, right? And what did we do? You want to tell everyone what we did, just so nobody thinks I'm crazy?
I mean, we were just sitting around. It was like, 2 a.m, something of that nature. It was like crystal clear. The sky, looked like, you punched holes in the sky because the stars were so bright. And you and I, we decided to try that Stephen Greer meditation. And we both
10 minutes we meditated on our GPS.
We sat there and just thought and thought and thought. And then when we came out of the meditation, I remember, we both got up to use the restroom.
When we ended it, we looked up. They were like,
yeah.
So we both got up to take a leak.
And
right? You walked one direction, and I walked like basically. If you walked north, I walked northeast. Okay.
Yeah.
And then,
and sure enough, there was like this. For me, I remember like a greenish, bluish, more green, just light that kind of like it came over the horizon. It kind of descended, so it was on like a downward angle. But it was like
right over your head.
Quick stop and go. It wasn't like a straight line. It was like a stop and go, kind of like a beacon light that just kind of like flashes, like a flashing light. But it was so fast, it was so crisp, and it went right over the horizon of the trees. And I just turned to you and I went, "Did you just see that?" And you went.
And I was like turning to you as I was peeing. And I was like, "Yes, I just saw that." And then I turned back to where I was peeing, and the same thing went right over my head. So it went right over your head in the same direction you were facing, and then it went right over. So if you were facing north, it went right over your head, and if I was facing northeast, it went right over my head. And I saw the same thing. It was like a but it was like orange, blue, yellow, green, red, orange, blue, yellow. It was like a flash of different colors, all in a like a microsecond, like
Yeah.
and I think that was where we didn't end this program correctly the first time. That was where you and I had both realized that Dr. Stephen Greer might be onto something
Yeah.
by trying to meditate to see if you can actually call these things to your location. Because, and if you haven't seen it, check out the Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. It is absolutely amazing because you and I both experienced it, Professor.
Oh,
We both
my
meditated
own eyes. Yeah.
over your head, over my head, all different. It was like an array of different colors.
It was, and like I said, the path. I mean, that right then and there, it was not of this planet. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
It was not a meteorite.
No. Oh no, because we would have seen an explosion because the thing was descending. It was going to hit the earth.
You would have seen one continuous
Yeah.
across the sky. It blinked. It went in different colors. It was like an LED light string
Yeah.
across the sky that just flickered different colors all the way across the strip of it. And
Mhm.
it went straight above your head, like almost in the same direction of your pee, and then it went straight over my head, almost the same direction of my pee. And then I was like, "Did you see that?" But I don't think you saw mine, did you?
No, because I was too busy. Because I was too busy looking at mine over the horizon where the trees were, and yeah, that too. But when you said you saw it, I was like, all right, I'm not the, it's confirmation.
That's
it was
100%
confirmed.
confirmation to me.
Yeah, me too.
I would love to know what everyone who is watching this, thank you for watching this, by the way. And we would love to know what you think in the comments. What kind of UFOs have you seen? Give us your UFO experiences. If you'd like to email us, the description is on the channel and in the description of this show. We can bring you on to talk about your own experiences because I know that I've had my own, and I'm sure plenty of you have as well. And I don't discount any of it because that's why we're here to pontificate. Right, Professor?
That's correct.
Brother, I love you. Thank you for pontificating with me tonight.
Hey, it was my pleasure. I had a blast.
I had a blast too. And make sure to like, subscribe, set your notifications if you want to hear more pontificators because there's more to come and more guests to pontificate with us. Until then, we'll see you guys later.